looking back at the good times before it all went down. Climbed right up on the hillside, a different view of my life. You left me running on and on, but I don't care, would you let me in? You said goodbye like everything's gone, everything that we could have been. But I know you are my liability. Yeah, I know you are my
You say that you're sorry. We turn the page and make up. A broken trust got you haunted. To doubting you was enough to leave me chasing you on and on. But I don't care, I will let you in. You said goodbye like everything's gone, everything that we could have been.
But I know you are my liability. Yeah, I know you are my liability. Oh, what a hopeless case we could be. Yeah. Oh, what a hopeless place that we're in. But I'm your liability. I know you are my liability. Yeah, I know you are my liability. Oh, what a hopeless case we could be. Yeah. Oh, what a hopeless place that we're in. But I'm your liability.
Come take my hand, I will walk with you. I won't let go till you say so. There isn't anything I wouldn't do. Wanna make sure that you understand. You're the one who gives my life color. There is no one other. With your hand in mine, let me go by your side. Let me go by your side. I wanna stay in your sunlight. I wanna wake up with you by my side. Without you there is no tomorrow. We could be in for the best ride. Want this to last for the rest of our lives. Without you there is no tomorrow. special, yeah, you're special. Everything there is no another. With your hand in mine, let me go by your side, let me go by your side. I wanna stay in your sunlight, I wanna wake up with you by my side. Without you there is no tomorrow. We could be in for the best ride, want this to last for the rest of our lives. Without you there is no tomorrow.
A nation of over 1.4 billion people and 5,000 years of history. From Nanning to Ningbo, I bring you Let's Talk China. Well, good morning, everybody, and we got an exciting panel today here. We are talking religion in China. Can you believe it? We took the quest to chat about this very sensitive topic, and I'm going to go right over to Gweilo 60, who is the one that suggested we make it the main topic for today's discussion. Kurt, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, you see, there's a couple of different topics in the world and that are very controversial. Politics is one of them, and religion is another. And because we have a panel of such a diverse type of people, like I know that some of you have a religious background, some of you don't. I obviously don't, if anybody watched the show I put out yesterday. But so you're going to get a diverse sort of understanding of what we see, what we go through in mainland China dealing with religion. And it's one of those things that everybody has their own feelings, and there's so many religions out there. And China's no different than anywhere else in the world. We have Muslim people, we have Christians, we have Buddhists, Taoism, we have Confucianism, we have all the isms in China here. And people think that China is one of those countries that says no to religion. Well, that can be true if it's not a religion that is sanctioned by the government. And there's a lot of reasons why that is. And we'll get into some of those during the show. And, pick the brains of everybody else on the panel, and send us your questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. Back to you, Alex.
Are you sure, Kurt? Come on, take some more time, man.
Okay, well, you get into the history of religion in China. You get back into about the 1850s when you've got this guy named Hong. I'm not sure why he was in a coma. I think he got sick. He went into a coma, and he woke up months later, thinking he was the son or the little brother of Jesus Christ himself. Okay, so he writes a book. He gets a bunch of Chinese people behind him, and sort of starts a rebellion, and it was called the Taiping Rebellion. Okay. And during this time period, I think it depends on where you read. It was between 12 and 14 years. And between 20 and 60 million people died during that rebellion. So you can understand, and it just about overthrew the Qing dynasty in the mid-1850s. So you can see where China is a little bit leery about having big organized religion, because they've got a history, a past of having this be a problem. You get into different cults that have reared their ugly head in recent years, like Falun Gong for one, and people say, "Oh no, that's religion." I beg to differ. If you've got people burning themselves on the street, that's a cult. That's not a religion. Things like this that the Chinese government looks at the world and says, how many wars have been started by, because of religion? Well, it's either land or religion. And people say ideology. Well, there's religion rearing its ugly head. Look, between 1096 and say 1290 something, they had, I think, 5 or 6 different crusades where the British, the Western world, the people with the colonial ideas about religion headed to the Middle East to war against the Muslims for holy sites, for Holy Land, Jerusalem, things like this. Okay, and this went on for 200 years. It all in the name of religion. And when the Chinese government looks at something and says, we don't want a part of that, because look at the history that it has. So they basically have banned people in the Communist Party from having a religion. The Communist Party pushes atheism. They're atheists. You know what I mean? Atheism? Okay, whatever. But you see, the idea that if the people in the Communist Party don't push religion in their political scene, it makes it easier, better for everybody, because, as you know, a mix of religion and politics doesn't work. And they say in the Western world, let's take the United States, for instance, religion and politics, you can't have them together. But then again, you get somebody like Donald Trump clearing out a whole bunch of people in Lafayette Park the other day with rubber bullets, pepper bullets, tear gas, peaceful protesters, to walk across the park and hold up a Bible in front of the church for a photo op. Okay, now see what religion can do in a society like the United States. What could religion do in a society like Cambodia, China, different places around the world? And we see it all the time, and throughout history we've seen it. So there you go. Is that enough time, Alex?
I don't know. Carry on.
Let's go to somebody else.
Okay, good. So, I'm not sure if everybody is aware, of the viewers that are watching today, that, in the 1982 of China's constitution, they actually banned discrimination of religions, and they have allowed 5 of them. So, for a lot of other, countries out there that, say that China has really come down hard on religions, it's actually, they made it part of their constitution. So 5 are allowed, and we will dig into that here in the next hour or so, and really, get into detail and try to, hit these myths that we're hearing right on their head. I'm going to go over to somebody new to Saturday's panel, Snarky Guy. Snarky's going to kind of weigh in on what he feels if religion is being, strangled in China. Snarky, I'm coming over to you.
Hey, Alex, first of all, pleasure to be here. I'm not sure about the rest of the panel. I am a Christian, but I'm also a very snarky guy. So you guys may know that. Yes, you are absolutely right, though. In 1982, December 4, the Constitution of the People's Republic of China was amended to allow for 5 religions. So it is absolutely protected under China's Constitution.
Right. And has that ever had to be tested? Have anybody ever tested that in the courts or anything like that?
Some people have tested that in the courts. Now, like anything else, the courts will acknowledge that this is the law, but they take it on a case-by-case scenario. So while you are allowed to believe what you want to believe, you're not allowed to go out on the street and proselytize, as it were.
So kind of like door to door, like we would say Jehovah's Witnesses, people like that do. Let's talk about the 5 allowed religions. I guess Buddhism is one of them. Catholicism,
Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Islam, and Christianity.
Protestant or Christianity. Okay, well that's good. I'm hearing anywhere from 30 to even 85% of the population does have some sort of religion in China. Do you think those figures are accurate, or?
They're estimating that at least 30 million of those are Christians. Now, because a lot of people are very private in China about their personal beliefs, the numbers may never truly be known.
I mean, in your city, do you see any churches?
Definitely. As a matter of fact, I go to a church here in Shanghai. I go to Shanghai Community Fellowship, which is an absolutely huge church. It's awesome.
It's amazing because, a lot of people will say, what are you talking about? Even my own mother, when I was in Chongqing recently, she called me on New Year's Day, all upset, saying, son, I'm really upset that China doesn't allow you to go to church. And I said, you're sadly mistaken. And just for that, I will go down to the local church and put it on video for you. So I'm going to go over to now Amy, Blondie in China, who apparently can start her own religion, is what we hear.
Oh my gosh, no, we won't get into that. I'm not going to be starting a religion.
Amy,
so
your experience in China, Amy, of religion.
Yeah, so I'm here just to comment on what I've seen traveling around China. And yeah, I've been to a lot of places. I've met a lot of interesting people, people from all different ethnic minorities. And my experiences when it comes to what I observe in terms of religion in China has been really fascinating for me. I really live for all the cultural, historic stuff. So yeah, I have a background in learning Chinese history. So I know about, some of the history of religion in China, which I find fascinating. And then, yeah, I was most recently last year, I was in a city in Fujian province called Quanzhou. And I don't know if you've probably heard of Quanzhou when you research the topic of religion in China. And I just thought it was a super interesting place because it was actually one of the biggest maritime ports in the world back in the time of the Silk Road, and it's actually the starting point of the Maritime Silk Road. So back in the 1100s, back 1,000 years ago, Marco Polo was trading in the city of Quanzhou, and as well as a lot of different traders from all around the world. So as a result, all of those traders from all different countries around the world, they came into China, into that port. Some of them settled there, and as a result also brought a lot of their culture and religion to the port of Quanzhou. And so when you're in Quanzhou, you can be walking down a street. I made a video about it, so if anyone's interested, you can go check it out. But you're walking down a street in Quanzhou and you pass a mosque, like an ancient mosque. The first mosque in, actually, I'm not sure if that's correct. I was going to say the first mosque in China was built in Quanzhou, but I'm not sure if that's actually true, but it's very old. And then you'll walk past a Christian church, you'll pass a Taoist temple, you'll pass Buddhist pagodas, and it's just such an interesting thing to see how back then religion of all types was so embraced, and there wasn't conflict there to do with religion. Everyone was very respectful of each other, which I really love seeing. And there's even cases of there's a Buddhist, two Buddhist pagodas in Quanzhou, and at the base of those, at the base of the temple, there are actually Hindu inscriptions showing how the Hindu culture was welcomed. Hinduism was welcomed into China and actually shown at the Buddhist pagodas. There are tombstones that have been excavated in Quanzhou that show influences of Christianity, Taoism, Buddhism, and Hinduism all in the one tombstone. And I just think, personally, I find religion a very fascinating topic when it comes to China. So keen to chat about that in today's live stream.
I wasn't aware, but there is a halal production in China, and I mean, this is a country that has, what we're hearing, approximately 23 million Muslims, and I wasn't aware that 14,000 of them go to Mecca every year. And once again, we're talking about all types of religions in China. I mean, the Muslim community, I mean, 23 million people, that can't really be ignored. And I can see kind of how, China, as Snarky was saying, you can have faith, but there are certain things and aspects that the government definitely wants to review. And I can understand that. I mean, if we look at Scientology in the United States, and, here's where it gets interesting, is if you are forming an organization of faith or anything in the United States, you are tax exempt. And, these are big businesses here. And, what I found after doing a lot of my research is, it's more of, China is concerned about what these organizations are up to. Not necessarily scared of religion, because there hasn't really been any religious wars in China over the last few decades, that's for sure, or even somebody can remind me when the last one was. But I think China is a bit more concerned on what these organizations are, what they're bringing into the country. For example, we've had some problems in, Ireland, in the Catholic churches. Some court trials have gone, with certain priests. We've also been dealt with tax fraud investigations. When you've got certain what do they call them? Televangelists? Is that the correct term, guys?
Evangelists, televangelists,
televangelists that have 4 or 5 Ferraris in their parking garage. So I mean, it's stuff like that. I'm going to go to Lee. Maybe Lee, you've recently bit this topic in regards to the Uyghurs or the Muslims inside of China. Do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I'll come to that in a second. I just want to raise a few points. So first of all, we've got I just thank Harriet and Digi1234 for their super stickers. And I've got a comment saying Amy's religion could be blondism. So
oh my God.
Okay, just to sort of let people know where my position is. I'm atheist. Growing up, I was brought up in a sort of loosely Christian environment, being from the UK. I think a majority of the people around me would say they follow the Christian faith, although very loosely. A majority of people don't attend church on a regular basis, but they do follow a sort of Christian sort of lifestyle, I would say. And something, when I had my own children, we caused a bit of controversy in the family because I wouldn't have my children christened, because I don't believe you should kind of enforce a religion onto somebody who's not old enough to understand about that religion. So I chose, me and my wife, my kid's mother, we chose not to have them christened, and that caused a little bit of sort of eyebrow raising in the family. But my opinion was that once they're old enough and they understand about the different religions, once they've learned, they can then choose themselves if they want to follow a particular religion. And then I just want to sort of think, I think there's the problem with religion is that there's a lot of extreme groups, and I think sometimes extremists use religion to hide their true intentions. And I think this is where China draws the line. So let me give you an example of this. We had an extremist in the UK by the name of Abu Hamza, and this was a guy claiming to be from the Muslim faith, but he was openly preaching in the street in Manchester. He was actually preaching terrorism. He was suggesting that that sort of the Muslim faith should rule the world, and we should get rid of every other faith, and we should rise up to kill all the sort of other people that don't follow our religion. And they also found a number of the mosques in the UK were, for want of a better word, brainwashing some of the young Muslims into this way of thinking. And I think they didn't act quickly enough to sort of close that down, because they were nervous of upsetting the balance for a particular religion. And I think that's where it's very different in China. The Chinese authorities won't stand any of that. So if as soon as they see that any sort of religion organization is trying to push this kind of brainwashing to people, they will stop it. And I think that is the right thing to do. We had a number of terrorist attacks in the UK, and it's all done under the sort of umbrella of religion. And I think that's a really, really bad thing. And the last point I'd like to make is touch on what Alex was saying about the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. Now, there's no doubt that some Uyghurs have been detained. There's no doubt about that. But this figure of millions is in my opinion, from what all the research I've done and all the things I've read, is absolute bullshit. Just think of the logistics of containing millions of people. I'm not 100% sure what the prison population is in America, for instance, but I'm sure it's not 2 or 3 million. And look at the amount of facilities they've had to build just to hold them prisoners. So I think you've got to think about the logistics. I think what's the true thing, or what's more likely closer to the truth in Xinjiang, is they've identified certain people who've sort of been moved to the extremist side. There was people who'd come from, sort of Al-Qaeda connections, kind of infiltrating some of the Xinjiang people, especially the younger people, because at that time there was very little opportunity in Xinjiang. There was no jobs, and if you look at what China have done, so the main thing they've done, they built a high-speed rail line to Xinjiang. Now, it's almost, that will never probably pay for the cost. The cost of that construction was absolutely enormous, and it will probably never pay for itself. But they did that in order to integrate the community more into the rest of China. They have given huge incentives for companies to set up there, to provide jobs. So what some of these centers are doing, many of those people there could also not speak Chinese. Now, obviously, if you're part of a country, you can't speak the language. And this is something that's done in Germany. A few years ago, when Germany had a huge amount of influx of migrants, they set up courses and centers to learn them to speak German, so they could integrate more with the community. If you're in a country like Germany and you can't speak German, you can't integrate properly if you plan to spend the rest of your life there. So this is, in a sense, what they've done in Xinjiang. And it's, if they've been involved in extremism, or they've got connections to these sort of extremist groups, because they are near that area, the Turkestan and the sort of where the trouble comes from in some of these areas, then yes, they are detaining them, they are questioning them, and in cases putting them in detention centres. So yeah, that's sort of my views on the whole situation. But in general, I don't think China bans religion. I think it's more that they ban extremism.
Well, thank you for that, Lee. I mean, my understanding, and being there many times, traveling to China for 18 years, is no one is actually forced to give up a religion. There's even, monks and nuns that have like basic living allowances. I was told from the government they have health insurance, and they actually have a pension. So to say that this is more of like an underground thing is, I'm going to bring up something that was in the comment box here, and maybe you guys can help me out with this. It's a comment that's usually, comes a long way, and this is Mogman. He says, there are more Christians in China and underground church than there are the Communist Party members that, scares them. Now, that's an interesting evaluation, and that's why we're having a program like we are today to talk about maybe these stereotypes or these myths that do happen. And it's good that we get questions like that for the panel so that we can address them. At least when I was there, being Catholic, I never felt that I couldn't display my religion, but I'm not standing on a street corner promoting it either. So, did the government stop me from, visiting a church? No. Did they stop me from having a Bible in my luggage? No, they didn't. So for the panel, can someone maybe help us out here with this comment that came from Mogman? So there are more Christians in China in the underground church than there are Communist Party members. That's what scares them. Do we believe that? Can somebody help?
Yeah, the idea that there may be more Christians in China than there are communist members, because I think the number of actual communist members in the Communist Party is about 90 million people. That's a lot of Christians, but just say there is say 100 million Christians in the country of China at this particular moment. I think you've got to go back to what Lee was saying. How many of these people are radical? How many people in the Christian religion have the idea in their mind to push that on other people, to radicalize it to the point where they're maybe against the government? There has to be an alternative or ulterior motive for these people to think this way. So if these Christians are just simply Christians and they're practicing their faith the way that they want to, I don't think the Communist Party has any problem with that, as what Lee says. When it starts to be radicalized, when it starts to be Falun Gong, when it starts to allow a cult, Scientology would not be allowed in China, but when you get into, say, radical Islam, not all the people that are Muslims are radical. There's probably a very small percentage, and that's what the Chinese people are trying to stop. Just like the American people are trying to stop, like the Canadians are trying to stop, like any government around the world that has this radical idea, jihadi, 7 virgins if you're a martyr. You talk to a regular Muslim, like my doctor in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, when I was living there, in Wei Feng's doctor, he was a Muslim and a really nice guy. He wasn't this radical thing that you see on the news every day. It's not the it's not the throwing of the garbage around. It's these people just are same as Christians, just doing their faith, and I think that's where it cuts off.
Kirk, so I have a commenter in my section that is suggesting that, who is it that decides on extremism? He's suggesting that it's the Chinese government that decides what's extremism. And then he goes on to say, here in Taiwan, we have Falun Gong, and they're just left to their own devices because, potentially in somebody's eyes, they're not extremists. So how would you sort of... As
the person that's running Falun Gong, and I can't remember what his name is. I read up on him a while back, promoting people burning themselves to death to prove their religion, people jumping off buildings. That's what I call radicalism. Maybe hurting yourself isn't a radical move as far as a political government would see it, unless you're Chinese and understand that that's where things start. So when somebody picks up a bomb or makes a bomb, when somebody tries to change the mind of a young person to be a martyr, strap a bomb to your body, walk into a crowd of people and blow your ass up. You see, there's different levels of radicalism in this world. And some are extreme and some are not extreme. But if you're looking at where does it start, where do you stop it? Well, I think if you can stop it in the early days and re-educate, like the Chinese government is doing in Zhejiang province, if you can grab these youngsters at an early age and show them, educate them, with the Chinese language, with skills, with university degrees. I know that if you're a Muslim, if you're from Zhejiang province, you're given extra points on what is the SATs in China. I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But they're given, because they're a minority, they're given extra points so that it's easier for them to get into secondary education. Things like this that the Chinese government is doing. Affirmative action, I guess it would be, only dealing with school instead of jobs. They're doing this to try to make these people integrate into the Chinese society, making it so that they have a better life, because these radical organizations, they're not dwelling on the rich people.
I think it's very much people. I think extremism comes down. It's like it is defined differently by different people. But where I stand is, I think it's okay for anybody to believe in whatever they want to, and that's their prerogative to do that. I think where I don't like it, and this goes for any religion, where they try to start pushing their beliefs, they kind of like pushing it onto other people. So we see this in the UK with certain faiths. They will go door to door Jehovah's Witness, and they will try and push their belief onto other people. And that's where I think it's wrong. I think anybody should be able to practice their own religion and believe in whatever they want to. But when they start trying to sort of, and what some of these more extremist religions do is they'll try to push it onto younger, vulnerable people. And I think that's where the line needs to be drawn. I think that's where it's wrong.
So I have a super chat here from Arthur Larson that says, has anyone been to Guangzhou Sacred Heart Catholic Cathedral, one of the few cathedrals in the world to be entirely built of granite circa 1888? Maybe someone has been down there or seen it. Also want to say thank you to Elaine Lee for your generous contribution on Super Chat. I do have a couple more people in my chat, and I'm going to bring them up because I really want to focus on, I don't want to convince someone, but I want to, maybe some people that have this impression on China and they haven't visited China, they feel that this country is closed off, or when you guys are explaining earlier about, certain religions are monitored. So I'm going to go to Mogman again here and put this quote up. And I think this is healthy. This is what this is all about. We're discussing things that are quite, sensitive. And this is definitely a sensitive topic. So let's have a look at that quote that I just put on the screen there. And maybe somebody on the panel might want to say something like that. Maybe comment on it.
You'd have to read it, Alex, because it's so small on our computers that it's just like, wow, it's my trifocal.
Snarky Guy.
It says Christians in China have been forced to practice religion underground as a way of not being warned, or they get put into camps, or loose there is businesses or put in prison. I've heard of underground churches. I think churches being underground would be very tight stuffy, not a lot of light, a lot of mold and stuff. I'm being snarky again, I know, but I don't have I'm not really qualified to talk about underground churches because I've never really been to an underground church. I go to a big, massive one here in Shanghai that is quite above ground.
I think what it means, Snarky, is that he's kind of saying, and once again, I really like having this open debate about this because we are trying to break down certain barriers and certain stereotypes of China, and I can understand how somebody from the West thinks that religion is really, wink, wink, underground, see you at 11 o'clock, take elevator 10 stories down, the long hallway, and knock on the door at the end with 3 taps. I mean, I can understand that because there's a lot of media out there that has really focused on, big bad China, right? And, for us to convince this audience today is we have to do this from our own experiences. My experience in China, if I want to go to church on Sunday, no problem. I can find it pretty much, in any major city across there. Am I forced to go underground? No. But, things like, it's an interesting comment. And I can see how Western people or, Western societies feel that when you start to say that you're monitoring religion, that can definitely be something that people, it raises their eyebrows. So, go ahead. Who wants to comment?
Yeah, I can throw a little bit into that because we're dealing with a city here in Nanning, China, Guangxi province, beautiful place. How I promote Nanning. We're only an hour and a half from the South China Sea, and but I noticed yesterday because I went out to do not yesterday, Thursday. I went out to do a promo video for this live stream, and there was 2 churches in Nanning before it. So I went to the big Catholic church that everybody saw on the show, and did my spiel and talked my stuff, and did what I usually do. And then the other church is just around the corner, about 4 blocks away. So I was going to go over there and sort of do an ending over at the other church because there's only 2 churches in the city of Nanning, 7.5 million people. I go over to the other place, that church is gone. They've torn the whole block down and they're building high rises in their spot. So when you're talking about an underground church, I think what you're really talking about is house churches where the people don't have a place to worship. So they get together in homes and worship, and there's really no regulation. And I think that's what maybe scares the Chinese government on something like this is because there's no control. It could be a radical group. It could be, they don't know. So maybe they should quit tearing down the churches and build some more churches, and maybe they would know, because the churches that are in China, they are regulated.
So I'm just gonna pass over to Lee, and then I'm coming over to Amy. Lee, you have a couple things that need to be addressed.
I do, yeah. So first one is thank you to Tony for that very generous super chat. This is my second time using super chat. I'm Tony from the USA. Yeah, in a previous stream, I thought it might have been a guy named Tony who I know here in China, but it's a guy from the US. He says, thank you, guys. You're doing an excellent job clarifying myths for those of us that don't live there in China. So thank you very much, Tony, for that one. And then I have another one of Simon NG. Education opportunities, plan for future, best solutions to rid backward thinking. Elites being using religion to divide people to enrich themselves. And then I have one more here from M.W. Lee, 1984. The problems in Xinjiang is the Saudi-funded madrasas in the region that's promoting Wahhabism and the poverty which makes extremism appealing. Yeah, I think that is a problem, and I think I've mentioned this earlier when I was talking about Xinjiang. It was a very, very poor region, so I think a lot of the young people there were just, had no hope. So they were listening to this sort of radical information they were getting from these sort of, let's say, not so good people. But I think the way China has addressed that, they've tried to they have created many opportunities for work. Of course, Westerners now say, they're using them for slave labor, which is not the case. They're teaching them skills, they're teaching them languages. One commenter suggested that they're being forced to learn another language, maybe against their will. I don't really know how to comment on that. I don't know whether anybody else wants to say anything about that. But my thinking, if you live in a country, it's much better to speak the language. For example, I live here in China and I don't speak a lot of Chinese, and I really, really, really wish I did, because I'd be able to integrate that little bit more. It frustrates me when I can't speak to older Chinese people here. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else has any comment on that.
I'm going to move over to Amy now, and maybe we can discuss a couple of things here. I mean, in most of the videos I've been watching lately, around the tomb sweeping time, where people go to visit the graves. I mean, this is quite a large event in China, and also a dragon boat festival. These things are kind of, we would say, gathered around, I guess, having a belief. What are your experiences, and have you been in China when they do the tomb sweeping? Do you know much about that, or Yeah,
I know about it. It's a Tingningjie, which is where you go and pay honor to your ancestors and go to their burial site and clean the tombs. And it's less of a religious thing, more of an ancestor respect worship thing. And as for the Dragon Boat Festival, I believe that's to commemorate the death of a poet. But someone in the chat, if I'm wrong. And then you've got Confucianism, which is considered like a religion of China, but it's less of a belief system and more of like I wrote it down, a way to describe Confucianism, more of an ethical system. And although Confucianism isn't like, a lot of Confucian thinking still exists in China, but I wouldn't say that Confucianism is as big of a deal as it used to be. So there are so many festivals in China, some that are celebrated nationally in China and some that are celebrated in communities. So I've had the opportunity to celebrate in a lot of those very local religious festivals. Last year, I got to travel to Yunnan and celebrate the Water Splashing Festival, which is a celebration it's a New Year celebration for the Dai ethnic minority. who are essentially follow the Buddhist culture, and they have huge celebrations in various communities around in Yunnan and also around Southeast Asia also, and yeah, it was very interesting. I did the biggest celebration is in a city called Sichuanbana, and it has a massive festival. I celebrated in a much smaller community where I think 80% of the population is Daizu or from the Dai ethnic minority. And I found it very interesting to hear that the funding for that festival comes from the government. So I don't know what the situation was in the past and whether those kind of festivals were suppressed, but they're definitely being more encouraged and celebrated now. And there are so many of these kind of religious festivals within ethnic minorities in China. So many in the calendar. Almost every second week there'll be a festival happening somewhere. So I find that really, really interesting.
Amy, let's chat a bit more, about, when we were talking about, religions and people's beliefs and stuff. I mean, some of them are like harmonies. Chinese believe in certain numbers that, will bring them wealth. Some people even say that money is a religion in China.
I have a lot to say about that, actually. There is actually a god of money in the Taoist culture, Dao Jia. And I forget, I Googled him before, but I've forgotten the name of the actual god. But there are temples where people will go to pray, worship this god and pray for money. I would say, if there was, I don't know if this is going to be a contentious statement, but I would say if there was one main religion in China, it would be money. People work so hard for that money to lead a happy and good life, easy life. I find that really, really interesting when it comes to the idea of money as some type of religion in China. I'm no expert, but from what I see, the majority of people that I meet in China, they have no specific religion that they would follow. But I would say 99% of the people that I meet would definitely care a lot about money.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Snark, you ready? Okay, so let's have a look at this topic, you and I, for a minute here, okay? Because, some of this panel are atheists, and, you and I have a religion that we believe in.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel, being in China, do you feel silenced?
Not at all. If people come up asking me, what my beliefs are, I feel the freedom to say. As I want to kind of step back, Amy was talking about the tomb sweeping holiday. I have a point to make here. Qingming. I actually went there last year with my wife to do the whole grave sweeping, and they get this big giant pig up, and they have baiju that's slightly more potent than 3 espressos with a defibrillator chaser, and they march this pig up the hill and they present it to grandma and everything else. And my wife's mother, she stops like, wait a minute, isn't Jimmy Christian? Can he eat this? So she went, and all of them just got some money together and bought another pig that had not been sacrificed to grandma for me, which is amazing. And they, come up to me and ask me, well, if you're a Christian, what does this mean? And they feel free to talk about it. Now, having said that, that's on a one-on-one basis. Right. I know in China, you can't go out and set up a soapbox, and you get your Bible, thus saith the Lord, or anything like that. As a matter of fact, in my school, in my contract, it says very specifically, I'm free to believe whatever I want to, but I can't go proselytizing out on the streets in China.
Right, and I think, that's, I can understand that. And, I mean, that's not to say that it's silenced in China. I mean, if we're looking at this country, it's multi-ethnic. I kind of want to put under the microscope private Catholic high school, and I was taught by priests and nuns, and even put many hours into Christian ethics day after day after day. And what was unacceptable on certain things back then, for example, hard rock, heavy metal music. You could go back and actually even look in the media during that time. They talked about, bands like AC/DC, bands like, I guess all heavy metal bands, or most heavy metal bands in the 80s, were bringing a cult, a cultist message. And they were actually banned. They were actually banned from my high school. And, we had a little bit of a chuckle this week, you and I, about listening to my Christian rock band called Striper. And they were one of the first mainstream Christian rock bands that actually got notarized in the world. But we laugh at that and we chuckle because, that was many years ago. But we have to understand that, in these times of the 80s, our own government and our churches and our own religions in a Western country did put some restrictions on us. Do you share that? Do you know what I'm getting at?
Oh yeah. My folks, if every time they found like a rock set CD or Pet Shop Boys, my dad would break that up and he'd make sure and put out the alternative Christian music that I was allowed to listen to. So I figured out at a very young age, if I leave the cover on there and put whatever cassette I want inside, then I'm usually good. It was the same way when I went to high school. There were certain rules of things we couldn't do, like listen to hard rock, having long hair, tattoos. Some things, like they said, the students had to wear trousers or skirts. They didn't say the boys couldn't wear the skirts. On a hot day, we would. Well, I got a lot of rules added to my high school. I went to high school actually in Hong Kong. So, but yeah, there was a lot of rules on what you could and couldn't do, even back in the 80s and 90s. True story.
This is a really, sensitive topic. I mean, it was really hard for me when this was suggested for this weekend topic to bring it up, because there are certain things that, sometimes we don't address, especially, bringing up religion in China. I mean, it's, just bringing up China can get people, all riled up. And then even politics in China can get people really, the hair on the back of their necks. But, something that I want to address here is that, our countries, we've had problems with religions in our countries, just like China is trying to, instead of throwing people in jail or putting things like that, they use the term education camps, or that's what re-education camps is what the media wants to use as that. Now, I guess you have a choice. If somebody's being radicalized, you have one choice: put them in prison, or try to bring them back into reality, I guess, if they've been really I guess charged, or it's a touchy subject. But something that now that you're with me on the screen here, that I want to bring up is, the Catholic Church had a huge amount of sexual abuse scandals, and this taints us, certain religions. So do we blame China for kind of getting involved, saying, wait a minute, we don't want this, or not necessarily, we need to monitor this? Do you want to maybe weigh in on that, and then we'll go around to the rest of the panel?
Well, definitely. I mean, a lot of countries have used religion for contrary behavior. I mean, let's look at, Britain, and as an example, why China wants to kind of put the kibosh and a certain, sense on that. I mean, Britain, they took a working holiday to get the Muslims out of Israel. I kill you in the name of Jesus. What? Wait, Jesus was religion, our prophet too. Was he? I didn't know that. Fine, we'll kill you if you're dark skinned because Jesus was a white man from Oxford. No, he wasn't. Jesus was a dark-skinned man from Judea. I didn't know that. Look, we've come all this way. Would you mind terribly if we just hacked you to pieces just for the press back home? A lot of, things that have happened in the past have really kind of set things in motion in China. They don't want a lot of the religious kerfuffle, if you will say. Having said that, I think most people in China are free to believe as they want, as long as they're not out there trying to, sell you snakeskin and buy 4 Ferraris as a result.
Okay, so Snark, we're going to continue on this because you and I mean, the panel has put this on us. What do we say about,
evangelists that have 3 Ferraris in their garage, a couple of Lamborghinis, and 20,000 square foot home. How do we defend that?
Okay. I don't have a problem with a preacher who is doing good works, who is generally out there trying to help people, and as a result, vicariously has gotten wealthy. I don't really have a big problem with that. Having said that, I absolutely hate people who go out there and use the name of God to earn themselves big bucks. I'm sure you remember that old Steve Martin movie, Leap of Faith.
There's a lot of those, man.
There are a lot of those out there. One of the big ones in the media right now is Kenneth Copeland, which, ironically, I actually know the guy. I've met him over 10 times when I was a kid, and nice guy. Now he's kind of gotten in the media recently because he's
in a bit of hot water.
Has a whole bunch of jets. What a lot of people don't know is every time the guy's bought a jet, he's actually given it away. He's bought a jet, fixed it up, and given it away. So he's given away probably 20 jets. Yeah, he probably has some now. As far as that's concerned, I mean, where do you draw the line as far as personal income versus, giving back to the community? I'm not qualified.
Realistically, a jet's not much good to the average person, is it?
Not true.
It's a bit of a
come on now. I got my own jet.
I've only got 2. I've only got 2 jets. Come on, man. What's up?
So I think I think they hide behind this to somewhat. I mean, what I don't like about these kind of evangelists, and I remember when I was growing up, there was I believe it was an American, a guy by the name of Billy Graham, and he came.
Oh, yes, Billy Graham.
He came to the UK and he absolutely packed out stadiums. People were really into Billy Graham, but he was making kind of claims that they can heal people, and a lot of these evangelists, they'll get somebody in a wheelchair and they'll touch their head, and all the crowd is hysterical. They go, "Oh yes, and God gives me the power to make you walk again. You can," and they stand up at the wheelchair, and every time they've looked at this from a medical point of view, it's just absolute bullshit. And this is what I really, really disagree with. I hate this, because they hook people in by convincing. I guess I can't ever believe I'd be sort of convinced by that kind of thing, but they'll pull people in to make believe they can cure them, and this is absolutely wrong. And it's all about you see behind it, it's all about getting money in. Just before I go back to you, Alex, can I just address a couple of super chats? So
please do.
And
I'm going to follow up your comment.
Okay. Just a thank you to Ellen Fang, Eric NG, MW Lee 1984 for super stickers. And then we have a quick one here from Norman Tan, suggesting how the Western media only talk about the concentration camps, so to speak, the re-education camps in Xinjiang. They never talk about what the situation was like before the Chinese government acted, where there was a lot of terrorist attacks. People were getting killed by bombs and knifings and that. And that is a good point. They never talk about this area. And it was actually something China kept sort of secretive for a long time. And then, at a point last year, they released a documentary on CGTN that showed that the terrorism. I actually know personally 2 people who come from Xinjiang, whose family are there, and they says, over the recent years, things have improved much in that area. So we're back to you, Alex, commenting on the evangelist situation.
Yeah, and Amy, did you want to address the super chat that came into your channel? Was that for you in regards to?
No, all good.
Okay, perfect.
But thank you very much.
All right. So just want to let everybody know that this channel and, all the members on this channel come together. We take a lot of time and attention to put these shows on. We're a channel that is built on support, giving the Chinese community a voice, and not built on hate, that is for certain, built on more positive and trying to basically bring down the stereotypes. Now, Lee, I want to, I'm going to ask you point blank, do you have a religion?
I don't.
Okay.
I was christened Christian, but I never sort of, the only time I tend to attend church is sort of weddings and funerals, and it does kind of bug me that when you sort of die in the UK, that you generally have to go through a church. I don't know whether there's another way of doing it, and there may be, but you know, I'm not a practicing, but I was christened as a Christian, but I'm sort of have more atheist beliefs because I think religion causes a lot of trouble around the world.
You made a comment earlier about the TV evangelists. I guess Graham. I think the biggest one is actually Peter Popoff. I used to watch him on Sundays. He was a man that came. Yeah, Peter Popoff. He came out with his miracle water, but you know. And I might get some support on this one from Snarky Guy. You say that, you know, they wheel people out there saying that they can be cured of certain ailments, but you know, something happened to me about 3-4 years ago. I had partial paralysis of my left hand due to something that was called autoimmune. You know, it was autoimmune. I think it was called. It was an autoimmune thing. It was called anterior interosus syndrome. And what it did is it partially paralyzed my index finger and my thumb and part of my forearm. And at that time, I was very stressed out. I didn't know who to turn to. None of the doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was quite a scary thing to happen to me. You know, you wake up one morning and part of your arm is paralyzed. You think, oh, maybe you slept on it wrong, but then it starts to go for weeks. And you start losing muscle, and people can't really give you much comfort. And here's where religion actually gave me a little bit of hope. You know, when trauma happens to certain people's lives, some people deal with it by drinking. When trauma happens to me, I tend to get, you know, more into my faith. And I read an interesting article last week, and it said to me, if you have faith, if you have a proper support network, and this is what I look for in a church. I'm not a person that's out in the street corner or trying to bring people in. I'm quite private about it, and Kurt seen that when he stayed with me. My wife and I, we go on a Sunday, and you know, most people don't know that we go to church at all. But having that faith with me and believing in that, it actually changes a little bit of your brain chemistry. And maybe Snarky can help me out with this, but when your dopamine and serotonin change in your brain and you have a little bit more positive stuff, that seems to reduce, you know, the hidden one called the anxiety in a person. And anxiety does cause a lot of trauma on nerves. And this actually was a nerve, we'll call it a nerve, I guess, well, anterior interosus syndrome. So it was mostly a nerve problem, okay? And it managed to correct itself. And I'm not going to say, and I know what you're thinking, Lee, like, you're cured, you know. It wasn't that, but it gave me at least some belief that positive, at least some positive energy cooled my anxiety down, which helped my body actually repair itself. Snarky, am I in another planet here?
Just before you go to Snarky, I just
go ahead, Lee.
Just before you go to Snarky, I have a friend here, a female friend here in China, and when she was going through her divorce, she actually found a lot of support from her Christian church here in Shenzhen. She says it was religion. She believed her belief in Christianity that got her through the sort of down times and the tough times when she got divorced. So yeah, I just wanted to add that before you went to Snarky.
Snarky.
Well, I mean, yeah, you know, having faith is like peeing yourself in black pants, you know? No one else can see it, but you can see it, and you can feel the warmth. You know, I do believe that...
Just sick. Very good.
Interesting. Keep going, Snarky. Keep going.
You know, I mean... Yes, I know there's a lot, you know, I go back to that Steve Martin movie, Leap of Faith, where he was, you know, he put a conveniently placed wheelchair, someone down in there and stuff like, whoa, you know, and they're healed. You know, I know there are a lot of charlatans out there. I get that. On the other hand, I believe that it is God's will that he heal you, that he definitely can. And there's going to be a lot of different, maybe levels of that. I do believe that God has that ability. As far as your personal ability and your body's ability to heal itself, when you put yourself in that right frame of mind, your body is an amazing machine that can, heal itself, and that is one of those things that kind of I go back to, I have such a hard time believing in atheism because of the sheer mathematics behind it. I could go into that later. That's a whole thing. But like anything else, I mean, you're talking about your arm and the partial paralysis there. Yeah, you put yourself in that right frame of mind. You start getting some positive thinking going on. Some praying. By God, why not?
Yeah, it's something that I've tried to. It's a difficult thing. I mean, because some people might think that you're a little bit loony if you're saying, your faith. But, just to steer in on that, and then we're going to go over to Gweilo after this. When I came to Asia, it was really hard to integrate with, a lot of the Thais here because, they have their Buddhas, and to get involved with the community, we didn't really have an attachment. So we felt that, getting into the church helped us out. And, that's... What's that, Snark? Gweilo, I'm going to you.
You were saying Thais. I was like, Thais? Thais?
Kurt, I'm going to go to you for a minute.
Well, you guys, because I'm an atheist, I'm basically like Lee, only with shorter hair. And I don't speak with an accent. So there you go. The idea of God helping us through hard times. See, I'm different. I've had hard times in my life. Being married, being divorced, had family members die, had all of these things that everybody else goes through. And, it was basically my friends, my family that helped through those times. So, saying it's God, maybe it's just a frame of mind.
Kurt, I mean, was there ever a time that you did call to the man above?
Only when I ran out of beer, man. Oh, God, I wish it was earlier. You know what I mean? Because Saskatchewan on a Sunday, when I was younger, you couldn't go buy beer. But the idea of religion has really. I grew up in Weldon, Saskatchewan. On one side of the village, you had the Lutherans, and on the other side of the village, you had the rolling in the aisles, talking in tongue Pentecostal. And on the outskirts, you had the Branhamites. And people say, "What's a Branhamite?" Well, you're going to have to Google that yourself because that is way out there. And then you had the people like myself, where we just weren't religious. My parents weren't religious. My parents' friends weren't religious, and we were a minority. So I've been around religion, pretty well all my life. It's just I look at it as more of a fairy tale than anything else. I'd like to go and say Kevin Williams. He always gives me a super sticker like 5 minutes before the show ever starts. You know what I mean? And then Francisco Rivera, he's always there for me. So when these people give me super stickers, I gotta read them. I don't believe in religion, but I have people like my mom, very religious. I don't think religion is real, or it doesn't work for the ones that do use it, for the ones that do use it, type thing. And I think it's all a frame of mind. I think it's, everybody's belief is their belief. AYC, Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism is ingrained in the Chinese culture. After being raised as in a Chinese family, even if you are an atheist or believe in other religion, there are always these three elements in China. Gweilo 01. I wonder where you got the Gweilo name from. Is that anyway? These religions resist incorporation into the Chinese belief system, upsetting the way of three of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. And I guess where am I? And Francisco Rivera again. This guy has always got my back in these things. This is America, full of churches without paying taxes. Trump, that couldn't even prove when he came into the presidency how much in taxes he paid. And that's true. It's one of those things. AC, would Chinese barbecue pass as a religion? Definitely. AC, and it does. And again, Francisco Rivera, in America, color hasn't even been fixed. Religion would get even worse here. The idea of these guys, everybody has sort of their take on religion, and it's one of those really hot topics. I think they did a study about religious people and atheists, and they said, well, okay, taking everything aside, who is the more giving of the two? And I don't know if it was a skewed thing, and I've read it in a number of things, and it could be just fake news. But it turned out that the atheists were more willing to give if it wasn't something that had to do with the church. So I don't think religion has really a lot to do with who you are or what you think. I think it's your upbringing, your parents, your friends, the people that you hang around with that make you who you are. Either you're a good person or you're a bad person. We all start out as good people. I don't think religion has anything to do with it. I think that it's your surroundings, your background. If you're brought up in a trailer park and everybody around you is into crime, violence, whatever, then you're going to turn into that particular person because you are who your friends are. You are who your family is. If you go to church and the church is some Islamic mosque that brainwashes their children into being this radicalized whatever, then that's what you're going to be. If you go to a Christian church in a small town and it teaches everybody to work hard and be good people, that's what you're going to be. So maybe the church is just like it is in the real world, where it's the people that you hang around, and it's the leaders of that church or that community, whether it be religious or atheist. It's the people that people look up to, maybe shows and makes who those people actually are when they grow up.
I tend to disagree with you on that completely, because to say that you're going to grow up and the people that you grow up with are who you're going to be in the future. I completely disagree with that point.
Not really who you grow up with, Alex, but who you like your friends. If your friends are good people, who you hang around with, you'll tend towards that type of thinking rather than so you grow up in the ghettos of Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
You steal from stores, you do drugs, you carry a piece, and because all your friends do, you end up shooting somebody, going to jail for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It is.
No, I don't. I don't know what you mean. I completely disagree, because to label somebody from a certain region, or here's where we fall into that. Then
but it's not a region. It's who you hang out with. Then a kid a block and a half away in Detroit hangs out with good kids that go to school and think that education is a great thing, and instead of hanging out with gangbangers, plays basketball on his time off, studies, goes to movies, plays video games, whatever. That kid's future will be different than that kid that's hanging around with. You know what I mean?
No. Sorry,
No?
once again, I'm going to push back and say I'm going to say I'll just finish this, Lee, and then I'll come to you. But I totally disagree with you on this, Kurt, because I went to high school with all different different people that had actually different beliefs from other schools. We had Protestants, we had Catholics, we had Jehovah Witnesses. Even we have one of the largest communities of the Hutterite communities that believe in living off the land. Yes, we had atheists, but to say that I am going to be with I'm going to turn out or to be someone with the people that are surrounded me. No, I have actually managed to have friends that went to my same school, that studied my same religion, that are bad boys and bad girls and done bad things. It's
not 100%. It's not 100%, Alex, but it is a majority.
Not true. Kurt, you and I are from the same province in Canada.
I know, but you come
And
from
you know what?
Moose
I
Jaw.
know, but we're from the same province in Canada. We're actually a city from 2 hours away. I embrace you. You don't believe in my religion.
But it doesn't mean you have to all believe in the same thing. But you have to admit, when we were walking down the hall at your condo, Yulia turned around and says, "You guys are basically the same person." You have to admit she said that.
Well, because we're from the same area, but that doesn't mean. But see, we're totally different when it comes to religious beliefs. So you can't. What I'm trying to say is, you can't be so closed-minded about religion. You can't. You have to be open about. If you and I and this panel are going to discuss certain things that we feel, are part of our heritage or even part of our upbringing, we can't close down that other wall and say, "Oh, that person's from that zone, so they're going to be like that." We can't. We got to be open, and that's at least one thing that my religion has taught me to embrace and be open. And
I don't think religion has anything to do with it, Alex. Like, I grew up with a lot of people, like a lot of kids I went to school with in Weldon, Saskatchewan, 250 people. That's when it was at its height. That are still friends of mine today. They're hardcore religious. Some of them are Baptists. Some of them are Branhamites. Some of them are Lutheran. Some of them are Pentecostals. But you see, that doesn't mean that we're not friends. But it does mean that when we grew up together, we sort of took on the same values. Maybe not religions, but we took on the same values. And I think those values follow you through the rest of your life, unless something traumatic happens to you and you fall into a bad crowd, or your surroundings are what makes you who you are. And I'm sure about that, because like I've lived a long time and I've seen it over and over and over again with certain people through my life. And if you're around good people all the time, you tend to be that way. It's not 100%. I know preachers' sons that were probably the worst kids you could ever meet in your life. Maybe rebellion against the idea.
Okay,
but
Kurt, I'm going to move on. Even hearing you say that, hardcore religion, just that comment there, I think you should just think about that and what that really means. What does that mean? Somebody that has a faith that you feel is not what you share, so you call it a hardcore religious?
I've seen Pentecostals rolling in the aisle talking in tongues. That's not normal.
Each to their own. But
what is normal?
Well, that's just it. What is normal for an atheist? Okay, that's not normal, but for a Pentecostal, maybe that's normal.
I'm going to Lee, and then I'm going over to Amy after that. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, so I just need to excuse me. I just need to address some super chats that are coming in here. So Trevor Norman, the West has re-education camps. They're called churches. Oron, I want to thank you guys for doing this. Much love and respect. We appreciate that, and we appreciate the support. Harriet, China has a history of minority integration for almost 2,000 years now. It's not just starting today. Actually, the West society have a lot to learn from the rich history of China. What I would say about the minorities here in China, during the time, and I brought this up in my video yesterday, during the time of the one-child policy in China, that one-child policy only applied to Han Chinese. It didn't apply to any of the minority groups here in China. And what I would say is, does that seem like a government that is trying to wipe out the minorities, trying to get rid of minorities? Because in sort of my thinking, that doesn't at all. Another super chat here from Wen Ren. Organized religions aspire to power too. Secular governments have a duty to monitor them, to uphold the church-state barrier, and to protect the right of the non-believers as much as the right to believe. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, in every sort of population, there are those that believe in religions and those that don't. And I do think it's important for that government to uphold the rights of those people that also don't believe in religions. And then the last thank you here to Elaine Lee for your very generous $50 donation. Hi, Barrett. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much for that. We really, really appreciate the support of all you guys out there. It's helps us keep the show on the road, basically.
Okay. Lee, you're breaking up there. So I'm going to go to Amy. And just to add to this, there are people that are donating through WeChat. So if you've donated, I see a few people in my room, they donated and they have a question. Can the moderators please look in our room that anyone that has made a super chat contribution, if they have a question, we will answer it for you. I mean, Amy, you heard Kurt and I get into it a little bit heavy there. I understand his point, kind of like who you grow up with, what you might end up being, which is something I completely disagree with, because if that was it, then I would be out on the farm right now milking cows. So tell us about what you feel. I don't know what your religion is. If you want to share it, you can.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was brought up as a particularly religious person, and I wouldn't call myself atheist. I definitely feel like there's something out there, so I'd probably call myself more agnostic, and I'm kind of on my own personal journey to find out what that is. Yeah, I would agree to some extent that what you grow up with is what you believe, but you also see a lot of evidence to the contrary. People who grow up in deeply conservative households and they figure their own way and they go with that. I definitely, once I started spending more time traveling and more time with myself, I had more time to reflect on what I actually thought and, what is life and everything like this. And that's when I kind of came to my conclusions that, I think I have a lot more thinking to do on the topic. And yeah, I would say I somewhat agree with it and somewhat don't. I think, yeah. I guess it's hard to say. Everyone's different when it comes to that.
Do you have people around you that have certain faiths that have talked to you about it, or certain family members, or within your friend network?
Yeah, I have some friends in China that they were brought up Christian and they went to China and now they're very Buddhist. I am a fan of the Buddhist faith, and I have been trying to learn more about it in the past few years, and I have a lot of good conversations with that person in China and what it's all about. I have quite a few friends that are very religious. One of my best friends in Australia is actually training to be a pastor, not like the pasta you eat, but pastor. Oh gosh.
It's the accent.
I'm going to decide about that. I don't know what religion you're from. Everyone can provide a lot of insight into different life issues and a different way of different mindsets and different ways of approaching things. So I always find it very interesting talking to people of different religions and faiths. I have friends that are Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Jewish. I always find it an interesting topic of conversation and swapping views on life. As someone who is not particularly religious myself, I'm really interested to hear about what other people think about things and have no particularly strong views on any religion being the one or better or worse. I respect everyone and their views.
I'm going to continue to be on the point of, upbringing. I mean, we have societies in the West here that almost make us choose. And that doesn't necessarily mean just the religion, but it makes us actually choose a political party. In Canada, you have 3 political parties that you must vote for. Okay, the odd person might vote independent as their 4th choice, but it's usually under 1% every federal election. So we have religion that I guess sometimes people, they say at a young age, you must choose. Well, just like, when you're voting, you must choose. And I can see that, certain, this puts people into a certain box where they tend to move on throughout life with friends and stuff like that. So it's very complicated. And, I don't know. What does everybody else think of this? Kurt?
Well, when you're saying, Alex, and maybe you misunderstood me, when you're saying if I was like my friends, I would have being on a farm milking cows. It's not what you do, it's how you think, who you are inside. It's not going to change the idea if you're a farmer, if you're a miner, an entrepreneur, how you think and how you go forward with your family or your regular life. Go to university, get an education, move to Thailand, move to China. That's not what I'm talking about. The people that you grew up sort of instill values in you, not who you're going to be. So maybe you got that wrong when we were talking. I'd like to go back and say hello again to Francisco Rivera. Thanks, man. Simon Ning. And Francisco Rivera again. You guys are my friends. Yet I don't believe in the American system. Well. But Francisco, did you believe in the American system, say 20 years ago? Was it better then than it is now? And what do you think has changed? Micah Loke, thank you very much. Elaine Lee, a $50 super sticker or super chat. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Alex Tang, great. Simon Ning, Lurue. The circle is growing up. This topic was a part of Nobel Prize winner in 2019. In this case, is being poor, not religious, but be good or bad is kind of the same. The circle matters. Okay, well, so like, it's whether you're religious doesn't mean you're a good guy. I grew up with people that said they were religious and they were dicks. I've grown up with people like my uncle. He was the nicest person in the world, but he never went to church unless it was for a funeral. You know what I mean? So it really doesn't. I don't think religion makes you a better person or a worse person. I think it makes you think about good things or maybe believe this is the way that you might, that makes you a better person. But if you're an atheist like I am, and if you have good values, if you have good friends, if you know right from wrong, I don't think it really matters whether you're religious or not. And when I say people that believe in fairy tales, I'm not trying to belittle anybody's religion. It's just what I can't see, I can't hold in my hand, I don't understand. Maybe it's something that I'm just that I look at as something that's not real. That's my belief, and for a religious person to say, it's true, and for me to say, no, it's not. We're doing the same thing. Only and I'm no religion.
I get that, Kurt. I get that. Is my mic better now? Is my mic better?
Yeah, it's much better.
So I get what you're saying, Kurt. But you just called somebody's faith a fairy tale.
Well, yeah,
but I'm saying you're
call my faith, which is no faith, a fairy tale because they're thinking that their fairy tale is more real than my fairy tale.
Okay, so during this whole conversation today, I have not called your religion or non-religion a fairy tale or a disillusion, and that's once again the point that I think Snarky and I are trying to make, that we're not out on the street corner doing that. We have a belief, we have a faith. Sometimes it's close to our heart, close to our family members, but I don't want to fall into a category where I'm saying to somebody, you believe in fairy tales and fairy dust and all this, and that's where we are equally, you and I are from pretty much the same areas, but we have totally different beliefs on whether they can be religion, maybe even politics, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to grow up to be Gweilo 60, right? Just means that...
Alex, what about Scientology? What about...
Well, I mean, once again, we are not... that's not for us to say. And if we are, from countries, there are 10 million believed Scientologists from the last time I heard, maybe I'm wrong on this, but 10 million practicing in China.
Is it believable? Is Scientology believable?
But Kurt,
I think it's important to respect what they believe in. You don't have to believe in it yourself, but I think it's important to respect others' beliefs. Like I said earlier, where I disagree with it is when they try to instill their beliefs on you. You know, I've come across a few Christians in the UK who seem to think they're better because they go to church every week, and I disagree with that. I have no problem respecting that they want to go to church, but there's many people out there who do a lot of good things for society. You know, for example, my mother, okay, she is, to all want of a better word, she believes in Christianity, but she doesn't go to church. She's not a practicing Christian. However, you know, for 2 or 3 years in her life, she volunteered at a hospital to go and sit with people who had no relatives, just to talk to them, you know. Yet there are many people who are practicing Christians who see, well, not many, but there are some people who practice in Christians who think they're kind of a little bit better, they're morally better than other people. And that's not always the case. I think each to their own. Respect people. You know, if you're involved in Scientology or you're a Falun Gong member, then that's your thing. But please don't, you know, try to push it onto me. And I think as long as people don't do that and they can believe in any religion they want, I don't think it makes them a better or a worse person.
And I agree with you on that. You know, Lee, I think most people don't push religion on anyone. Majority of the people don't.
I would agree with that.
You know, and what I find is you know, this religion that I believe in, here's why, okay? It brings me closer together with the community that I live in here in Thailand. I can relate to some people. And if something ever happened to me, and my wife needed a support network, that is the support network that's going to be there. All of us don't know how long we got on this earth. We might have, you know, everybody assumes they got 20 or 30 years in the bank. In 20 years I'll do this, in 30 years I'll do that. Things happen, and at least I know if something ever happened to me that there would be somebody that would just immediately come in and swoop in and you know, be there to support my wife through potentially something. Vice versa, if anything ever happened to my wife, you know, it's always tragedy when we turn to things like this. And I think that sometimes if you've never believed in religion, I can understand that. I can see you from a distance saying, well, that's fairy tales. But you know, Snarky, maybe you can help me with this. Why are most people in the United States that are incarcerated become born-again Christians or something like that? Maybe you can weigh in on that.
Well, when you get to the bottom end of the barrel, I mean, sometimes you have to look up, right? True story. You were talking earlier about, you know, choosing, you know, religion or politics. Well, in the United States, we usually have 2 choices every year. Do you want the poo-poo or the poo-poo? You know? But when I was a kid, you know, my dad is a pastor, and he never really pressured me, you know, breathe down my neck. You know, I knew he's a pastor. And when I, you know, got, you know, old enough, I came to him and I was like, you know, I think I want to believe in Jesus too. I was never pressured. I was never, you know, under a gun. You never held me down the Bible. You will believe, or anything like this. It was just, you know, a natural thing. Yeah, I was a preacher's kid, and yeah, I did a lot of things. I actually am directly responsible for at least 20 rules being added to the rule book in my school. You know, I may have borrowed a little cash that was mine when I was a kid. I'm sure I did a lot of things wrong, you know. Christians aren't perfect people, and by no means should we think that, you know, religion is going to make us a better person. But you're talking about people in prison. Yeah, when you are at the lowest end of your life, sometimes the easiest thing is to look up. That makes sense.
I mean, Snarky and maybe Gweilo and Amy and Lee, you can help me out with this. I mean, you know, in a country like China, why is religion picking up steam there? Why is it that religion is really...
Well, I just want to touch on a comment that you made earlier about that it gives you a support network. And I think that's a very interesting comment. And I think a lot of people do turn to their faith for support in times of trouble or hardship. But what I would say, what I notice about being in China as opposed to the West, so in the West, your immediate family, most people are sort of kind of tight with, but your extended family in the West, certainly in my experience, and a lot of people I know's experience, they're not so tight knit with those sort of aunties and uncles. But in China, I think the support network comes from their sort of immediate family and their wider family. I feel families are very much closer here in China, and maybe that's a sort of reason that up to now religion hasn't been a big thing. In a sense, Confucianism is not really a religion. It's just kind of a set of principles that the Chinese live by. But I do feel family are tight. So maybe those Chinese people think they have enough of a support network within their own family, whereas some sort of Europeans and Americans maybe don't. That's just what my view on it from spending time here in China.
I mean, does somebody want to add to this? Amy, do you have something to add to? You heard Kurt and I mean, I love Kurt to bits, so him and I have to have this discussion. We usually have it after about 2 or 3 beers sitting on the sofa, and then we have a good row at each other. And
Tell us
then
about the marble statues that you're making, Amy. Come on, you can let it out.
No, there are no marble statues. I guess being brought up as not a super religious person, I just always would respect like anyone's views, no matter like what they are. It's hard for me to like say I support one side or another because I myself don't really have a side. But yeah, I definitely feel like religion is growing as a concept in China more. And recently in Fujian province, I was doing quite a bit of travel, and you can't walk a kilometer without coming across a Christian church. And that's probably I just really saw a lot of churches in Fujian province. And yeah, I think.
what do you think's driving that?
Well, I know probably. More
This is a country that's 5,000 years of history. What's driving it?
Well, Christianity has been in Fujian province for quite some time because of all that trade that was happening in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But I think since Westerners have been coming to China, Shanghai, there's a lot of Christianity because there was a lot of foreign trade and a lot of people, Westerners moving to live in Shanghai. I think the cities that you see a lot of, Westerners coming to live in, you see a lot of Christianity, like Qingdao as well. There's a lot of beautiful churches there because of the German influence when Germany briefly occupied the city of Qingdao. And so I guess it was introduced in that way, and it's kind of slowly growing. I think that's maybe what's driving it. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it too much, to be honest.
The panel?
I'm just going to jump in with this fantastic super chat off Fluffing Fluff. So, say, religion is like Marmite. Some like it, some don't. But don't force people to eat it, and don't French kiss strangers you meet on the street. I think that is absolutely something of perfect.
That sums it up. I think that sums it up.
That is really good.
No, I mean,
French kiss strangers.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about this. I mean, it's quite a hard topic to talk about because there are so many religions, there's so many beliefs around the world. And the nice thing about it is we can have an open discussion on the internet, a panel of people talking about even another country that's not even the one that we're from, to try to bridge the gap or, bridge an understanding of what these religions and how they function in China. It's quite extraordinary to see how, these religions continue to actually even move forward and to expand. And, if you ask a lot of people in my friend network, when I talk about China, they say, well, is there a church there? And these are people from my own church. It was about 4 weeks ago, or no, a little bit more than that, about 2 months ago, because we've been closed here because of social distancing. But a gentleman asked me, well, when you go to China, I mean, don't you find it hard, to express your faith there? And I said, what do you mean? And he says, there's not churches there. And I said, well, where are you hearing that from? And he says, well, religion is illegal there. And, it's interesting when Kurt brought this up to me this week. He says, I want to talk about religion on this show. I said, Kurt, this could be a hot tamale. Are you sure you want to go down?
You didn't want it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things that you're going to get many opinions on it. And it's, something about my grandma says, never talk politics and religion. But every time I went to my grandmother's house,
Alex,
she talked politics and religion.
When I put out the video yesterday morning, about religion in China, and it was basically promoting this particular live show. It didn't get a lot of hits. It's still under 10,000 hits, and that's small for my channel. But out of those 10,000 hits, I think just about everybody made a comment. So the people that are interested are interested enough to take time to make comments and stuff like that. And I think that shows that this topic is something that actually, out of all of the topics that we've touched on in Let's Talk China on Saturday morning, I think this is the most engaging that we've ever had. Just maybe not the highest numbers, but the most engaging, where not everybody is on the same page. And I think that's why the religion thing, I picked that just for the fact that Snarky's got a way of looking at it. You've got a way of looking at it. Lee and Blondie and myself, and probably any of the other people at the pool of people that we pull for Let's Talk China would have their own view on this subject. So it's not everybody living in China saying, "Oh, I love China, I love China." It's like everybody has, as you and I got into it there, watch out, man. The idea is that we do have different takes on it. We do have different views. Some people believe, some people don't. But I don't think it really changes who we are. I think it's just, our beliefs. And I think this is a good topic. I think, in the future, we might even come back here again.
Kurt, I mean, I have to say that, it is an interesting topic. But I think, times like we're in right now with this CV disease that is, taking the world by storm here. I mean, millions of people have been infected by it. If you Google it and put those words together, you will see that a lot of people have actually ran towards faith. Now, Lee made an interesting comment earlier. He says, in time of need, religion, certain religions step up. If there's a tragedy or something that happened, earthquakes, something like that, there are certain organizations, and I'm not talking, the NGOs or anything like that, or UNICEF or United Nations, but there are certain faiths that step in. I'll give you guys an example here. In Thailand, every Wednesday, what the church does where I go to, and I'm not a guy that, you could be around me the whole week, and all of a sudden, at 10 o'clock on a Sunday, I'd say, guys, I'm going to go for an hour or so. I won't say I'm going to church or doing whatever. That's about as much promotion you're going to get from me on that. That's not to say I'm embarrassed by it or anything. It's just that I choose to do what I want to do and believe in the faith, but I'm not a person that goes out and massively promotes it. I'm proud of the person I am and my wife. But what I'm saying is, when I'm at the church, there's certain other topics outside of religion that people talk about. For example, the main thing that people in the church lately here are talking about is the people that are stuck in the immigration here. And that means that they have a big immigration detention center. It's called the IDC here in Thailand. It's people that have overstayed their visas. It's people that need to go back to their country. Maybe they showed up with a passport. There are hundreds of these people in these immigration detention centers, and all they got is 4 walls and a book. So people from our church go to visit them every Wednesday, and there are hundreds of them, and we can't join them in groups. So it has to be one person per one person that's staying at the immigration detention centers. So there's some positive thing there, and that's what I'm saying. If you're in a situation, maybe sometime in the next 50 years that you got left on this earth, Gweilo 110, you might be touched by it. I hope you're open to it. I'm not saying open to.
Well, you know,
I'm just saying open to.
I've always got an open mind, Alex. But you know, there's certain things that I believe and I don't believe in, and you know, and I've been this way my whole life. It's the 13th today. In another 28 days, yes, I am actually 60 years old. I'm an old man. Then
When's your birthday?
July 11th. And I gotta say thanks to Sam Bang. He says, "Chill," probably because of you and me going at each other. Just because it was the way. Just because it was the way for you doesn't mean the same way for everybody else. Both religion and people around you can be factors that shape who you are. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And you know, and that's what I was basically saying. It doesn't really mean religion is going to change you into what you are. It doesn't. It's the experiences that you have in your life. It's the people around you, whether those people are at a church or whether those people are sitting in a bar in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, drinking beer after work. Like when I take Wei Fong back to Canada, and the first night after we get back, we end up at the bar, and she meets all of my friends, and out of all of those friends, each and every one of those people, though they like to drink beer, though they like to barbecue, they like to snowmobile, like to fish, they like to hunt, each and every one of these people were perfect people in my mind, you know. So like it doesn't matter whether you meet them in church or meet them in a bar. If they're good people, they are good people, and if they think the right way, where I'm not going to steal, I'm not going to hurt, I'm not going to be a prick type thing to other people. Well, it doesn't matter where you get those values, just so long as you have those values.
I mean, is this snarky? Is this really, you know, when we're focusing on religion here in China, you know, is it changing the landscape of China? These religions that are coming in there, is there a fear in the Uyghur community? Is the government fearing that? Is the government fearing Christianity? Is the government fearing, you know, do you feel this in China when you're there?
Well, I don't really know much about the Uyghur community other than they have wonderful food. But I mean, the landscape as far as religion in China has been there. I mean, there's been some wonderful things. In Beijing, East Church, St. Joseph's Church, huge. In Shanghai, St. Ignatius Cathedral, huge. In Harbin, St. Sophia Church, huge. These places have been here for hundreds of years, you know. And yes, we're just now hearing about more of religion in China as China grows, of course. You know, in Hong Kong, there's been numerous churches. Of course, granted, that was a lot of the British influence. You know, my wife went to a British school in Hong Kong. Everyone knows my wife has dwarfism, 3'11". 4 foot tall with high heels. Thank you very much. But she talks about, you know, the wonderful influence that the religious community brought in as far as her school she went to. Now, of course, obviously the Britons have always stepped their bounds in a couple areas. You know, it's like, what's that behind your back, Britain? Oh, Indian, the Falklands, Hong Kong. Give it back, Britain. You can't have that anymore. But, you know, like anything else, we find that the religion, Christianity, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, has been in China and will be part of the landscape. Yeah, of course. It is a very personal thing. People aren't necessarily going to go out there on the street corner and talk about it. But I have the freedom. I feel free myself when people in China come to me and say, hey, what do you believe? I'll tell them. And then I turn right back around. What do you believe? You know, I find this is a very healthy dialogue. You know, true story.
I mean, Amy, you know, we're going to continue on this. I mean, has there been certain regions that you can, because you travel a lot around China, I mean, has there been certain regions that you can feel more of a religious presence in that you've gone to? Because I've watched a lot of your videos, and you know, you really get around China, and you're going to some areas that I don't see a lot of travel vloggers go to and stuff. So is there a region in China that you feel that you know, there's more expression on a certain religion?
I think I just did that for a second. Yeah, I would say that I experienced a lot of religion in terms of the ethnic minority cultures. when I've been in China, when I was in Yunnan, which is home to quite a few ethnic minorities, I think like 25 or 26 ethnic minorities there. And yeah, I experienced a lot of religions within those ethnic minorities when I was in Yunnan. I also, as I said, when I was in Fujian, and I experienced a lot about a lot of different religions in that city of Quanzhou, and also my old roommates that I used to live. They're not old, sorry. The roommates I used to live with in Beijing, they are Muslim. They are of the Hui, I think, from the Hui ethnic minority, and they come from Gaza. So I was exposed to a lot of Muslim culture in China through them, and I got to go back to their hometown with them. Their hometown is in Taiyuan in Gansu province. And yeah, we went to a lot of religious meetups, and I got to experience a lot of that religion and culture as well. So yeah, there have been regions where I experienced it more than others. But yeah, I would say in general, it's usually when I am with people of a certain ethnic minority. Which is always really interesting to learn more about.
Have you known anybody that's got into trouble with religion? Anyone on this panel? Does anybody know anybody that's got into trouble practicing religion in China?
No.
None at all.
I've heard stories.
Like,
yeah, I think it's, going back to what I said before. I think Chinese generally are okay with religion. I think what they have a problem with is extremism, where sort of, as I said, there are certain groups who will try to push their extreme views onto others, or try to sort of challenge the norm through the disguise of religion, where actually they're not religious. We see this a lot in the UK, where there's a lot of people who follow the Islamic religion who are very, they keep themselves to themselves, they practice. But what Islam gets infiltrated with are these sort of very extremist groups, and they push their message out under the guise of Islam, and it's not actually Islam. It's extremism. And a lot of the Muslims in the British community get very angry about this. They say, look, this is not what Islam and is about. It's because what happens, people see these sort of minority extreme groups, and then the general population assumes this is all Muslims, when actually it's not. It's probably a very small percentage, but they use the religion as a disguise to push their extremism. So I think that's the thing that the Chinese authorities are very wary of.
And I mean, what do you think their biggest fear is? Besides extremism, do you feel that civil unrest? Do you think that's a fear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you saw it in Xinjiang when all the bombings were going on, all the stabbings were going on. It's just civil unrest, and it's basically terrorism. You're trying to intimidate the citizens of that area or of that country by use of violence, and it's
absolutely,
it's one of those things that it should be stopped, and it should be stopped as quickly as possible. And if you have to use force to do it, and if you have to detain people to do it, then that's exactly what you should do. Because any government of any country, their main priority should be the citizens and the safety of those citizens of their country, or they shouldn't be the government. And
absolutely.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I agree with you on that, Kurt. I think that there's a time when a government has to get involved. Now, I think China trying to not really speak too much about the Uyghurs in the press they're more trying to, would you agree with this, save face, kind of saying, hey, we got this problem, we got to deal with it, this is how we're going to deal with it. And then when it's questioned by other countries, they're not really 100% transparent on it. Would you say that's more of a...
I think whatever they report and do, they will get bashed by a number of Western press anyway. In my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, I made a video about this, that the way they've dealt with terrorism in my head is far better than the way some of the West has dealt with terrorism. You see what do America do? They just go and kill a load of people, and 95% of those people that they kill are innocent civilians, But then it's okay because it's just collateral damage. That's what the West say now. But you imagine what would have happened if the Chinese government had gone into Xinjiang and slaughtered 2.5 million people. So what they've done is, I think, a good way of dealing with the situation, and even the way they've dealt with it, they get attacked by the West for doing it that way. So they're in a kind of no-win situation, whatever they do.
But again, we go back to that where we're gonna bring up the West, and I want to kind of, if we're gonna go after Canada and United States, well, I mean, even Germany got into this as well. They had a say even in Scientology in 2007. They actually tried to ban Scientology in Germany. So, I mean, it depends how far back in history. I mean, yeah, we can say that, Canada and the Americans did this, and then you go back into the 30s and you can say the Germans did that, and then you go back into the 1800s. So I think this is a worldwide problem that tries to deal with radicalism. It's not just, we saw wars in Yugoslavia back in the late 80s and early 90s, and hey, Lee, I mean, we've got our own countries were involved in that war too, and some people say, well, it was in the good, it was there, we were the mean guy Slobodan Milosevic. So we can't always say, look how this country deals with it, or that country deals with it. This is a global issue. Certain countries use force, and certain countries use re-education. Now, some countries feel that force solves things. Now, whether we agree with that or not, that's open for discussion, I think, one time. But this religion thing this has been going on for centuries, and it's never going to end. And for us to go after one or two countries, we're all in this together. Gweilo, you're itching to say something.
I gotta go and say, I'm not the only one that thinks this way. Fluffing Fluff, he says, agree with Gweilo. You are who you hang out with.
Yeah, well, I hang out with you, Kurt. I'm nothing like you.
Right, that's why your wife said, you guys are basically the same person.
Well,
you're walking down the hallway. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, okay.
AC says, and the next comment, AC says, Gweilo is right. Values transcend any religion. So, the idea. Francisco Rivero, thanks for the super sticker. And Bruce P, also, thanks for the super sticker. But I want to... Kurt, next time Miranda brings up the comments, tell her I'll send her some opposing views of those if she gets into my chat room. We'll put her in there next time. But Arthur Larson,
please.
He said, next week, he says, he's picking our topics for us now, Arthur. He says, next week, LGBTQ plus in China. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that'd be a topic that we should talk about or not? Silence. I knew that's exactly what everybody would do. That's one of the things that I don't know, Arthur. I'd have to think about that one, because it's just one of those ones that it's not something. It's not like that in. Well, it might be like that, but it sure isn't very open. I tell you that right now. But I see girls walking down the street holding hands all the time, but I don't think it's like that.
That's interesting. I find that a really interesting topic. I would be interested in chatting with you and your thoughts about that. I have a lot of friends that are are a part of the LGBTQ community in China, and there's some very interesting insights. Also, some very sad aspects of it to do with the Chinese culture in terms of not being able to maybe share that with your parents, or how they're hiding that information from their parents, which is really sad. Just that they're not able to express their true selves, but it depends on the family. And I think it's an interesting topic to discuss, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about it as well.
Well, Amy, if we're going to Gweilo on that, you are who you hang out with.
Yeah, Amy. Tell us
I do think that when you're growing up, the people you hang out with do influence who you are, especially at a younger age. You know, from the age of probably, 8 years old to maybe 15 or older. I think you're very influenced by who you hang around with and who you spend time with. I would agree with that.
True, and I'm very lucky that my parents are extremely open-minded and always very supportive of myself and my sister, of whoever we want to be, what faith we want to worship, how we would want to define ourselves, our sexuality. So I'm very lucky to have had that upbringing. So I feel like I can respect.
You know, guys, I mean, I'm still lost on this point where you guys are saying, you are who you hang out with and who you're with. If I could tell you some of the friends that I had in high school and I had in, elementary school, they are nothing like me. They have, I mean, if I turned out to be these guys, I would I'd probably be incarcerated by now. And I think, I don't see that. And that's like saying if you're hanging out with a bunch of car guys and car buffs, you're going to grow up to be a car buff guy. Or if you're hanging out with people that like McDonald's, well, no, tell me, Kurt, because I'm dying to get this point.
Okay. See, I can hang out with you and you can love the stock market. And,
yes.
and I love drinking beer, but that doesn't mean that our ideology, our understanding of the world, or how we feel towards other people is any different. See, you can have hobbies and things that you're interested in, but that doesn't dictate who you are inside and how you treat other people, how nice you are to your fellow person. Just like me, if I can drink beer and be outspoken, but when the rubber hits the road and it comes down to some asshole attacking another person, and I would stand up for that person just for the fact that I see it as being wrong. So the idea of who you are isn't what you do or what your interests are, but it is who you are.
Snarky?
Sir.
It's hard to really, and I get what you're saying, Kurt. But if that is going to rub off, if that is going to cute, if that is going to rub off on me, then some of me should rub off on you. If it's going to go both ways.
It has. I bought a new mic. Hey?
But Kurt, can I ask?
Shows and stuff.
Kurt, I want to ask you something really, really personal here.
Anymore.
Sorry?
I says I don't touch myself in public anymore.
Oh Jesus! Help us. Certain things happen in life. I lost my father at a very young age. He was 56 years old. And I can tell you, for the last 2 months of his life, I've never needed as much as I did a faith at that time. You feel that, have you ever been in a position in your life with your partner or yourself that you've ever needed some other support that you haven't had?
Well, no, because for one thing, I have good friends. I have good family. The idea of faith, I've never really looked at faith as, let's call it what I would as an atheist, as a crutch. My crutch is my friends and my family. I've been through hard times. Of course, Wei Feng and my history over the last couple of years. So, I've had hard times. I lost my mother, I lost my sister, I lost my uncle, all in the last couple of years. It's one of those things. So saying that faith is something, or a religion is something that you have to go to when you're having these hard times. I look at it differently. I look at when I'm having hard times, I talk to my brother, my father, my friends, people that I know, and the healthcare workers were good also.
And I think all of those people are probably not atheists. Maybe even
Probably
half
not.
or
Probably
two-thirds
not.
have
But
a...
religion never came into it when we were going.
But you
through
see, it's not... You might think that just because someone's religious, that people are pushing it on you or bringing it to you. Just by the sole thing of somebody supporting you with love, care, attention in a tough time is maybe their way of expressing their belief to you. And
yeah,
if that touches you, then it's not a fairy tale, my friend. It's real. Not in a way that you might feel it. And I'm not saying that, there's beams coming down and the earth is opening and there's sunshine coming, but
unicorn farts.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have been together for a few months when you stayed here in Thailand, and I feel that some great things of me and vice versa, but some great things that I have rubbed off on you, and that is because of my upbringing and my faith.
And that's what I was telling you. It's the people you hang around with. It's not the religion. It's the people you hang around with. You just, okay, I win this conversation. We can go around on this forever, but
No, I love it.
Over 2 hours now, so I think.
Okay, so I'm gonna go around the round table here and give everybody a minute who has missed getting in on it, and I appreciate it. You guys got to understand, being the host of the show, it's really tough. Like, I'll get comments saying, "Hey, man, even before the show started today, Gweilo doesn't have enough time. Gweilo doesn't have enough time." I said, "Geez, okay, fine." And then now I'm saying, "Blondie, you didn't give Blondie enough time." And why isn't Lee Barrett on the screen more? And Snarky's a new guy. Give him the floor. So I'm getting all these things. It's incredibly difficult to be a host of this, putting up graphics, getting this whole show together. So, and all of you guys know it because I see a lot of you guys live streaming yourself out there. It's not as easy as it sounds. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start with Snarky. I'm going to go with you first, sir, and then to Gweilo. Then I'm going to Lee. Lee, your camera's frozen. If you could try to fix that. Then I'm going to Blondie, and then I'm going to take it on out. So, Snarky, we're going full screen with you. And I just want to say thanks again to everybody that's donated through the QR code on WeChat Pay. If you have donated on that and you need something said, please tell the moderators in the chat group what your question is. We don't want to miss these. And if we've missed them, send us a comment after the show. I'm going to Snarky Guy. Snarky, you got 60 seconds, sir. Fire away. If you need a little bit more, we'll give it to you. Don't worry.
All right. Well, we were initially started this conversation talking about religion in China. Different religions have been in China, peacefully coexisting for thousands of years, and will likely to do so. No one's looking to pull my Bible away. No one's looking to, silence me. At the same time, I'm not going out there. As far as the subtopic is concerned, whether you are spiritual or not, whether you believe in Jesus or not, it may not touch you at this time, or perhaps not in the right place, but, leave that open place in your mind and in your heart, and maybe at some point in time, there you go. As far as the on the ground in China, I'll kind of circle back to that. As China becomes more affluent in the world and they import a lot of technology, they import a lot of money, they're going to import a lot of ideals as well. And so I think a lot of people are open to this. And I think a lot of people aren't necessarily as closed-minded as a lot of people may have assumed they were. True story.
That is very, very interesting. I'm going to go to Gweilo 60, and then I'm going to get back to Lee. I got Lee. Lee's a little bit frozen there still, but we'll work on him there. Kurt, you've had a lot of the microphone today. 60 seconds exactly. Here you go.
Great, you hold me to 60 seconds. Thanks for the super sticker. And Fluffing Fluff says, the exception proves the rule. What Gweilo says is generally true, but exceptions do exist. Even general relativity breaks down in a black hole. And that's true. The idea of religion is more important for some people than other people. As you can tell by the way I look at it, religion is not a big part of my life. It never has been. I have religious family members that that are good people, cousins and aunts and uncles. My grandparents on the one side were really religious and stuff, and I love these people. So just because of their religion doesn't mean that they're looked at differently in my eyes. It's just for me, religion is not a big thing. For the next week, Gweilo is going to be off the grid. We're back on the Vietnamese border. We're going river rafting. We're leaving on Monday. It got put back a couple of days because we've got a young guy, Enrico Cordes, a German guy, that's coming along, and he was doing some exams on Sunday, so we had to put her off another day. So I'm not even sure whether I'm going to be able to make it for the next Saturday show, but I'll talk with Alex about that later. But yeah, river rafting by the Vietnam border. We're going toDet Bien Falls. We're going into Cars Mountains. We're hitting some high-end cabins and some really neat food areas. So I'm going to be making videos about all of this. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to get them up on my channel before I come back to my main computer. I'll see what I can do. But yeah, so religion was a good topic. I think this was a good topic.
It's a good, healthy one. And thank you, Gweilo, for that.
My next, why did I use up my 60 seconds? I see I don't have a second hand on my watch. Anyway,
okay, well, I appreciate it. And we're going to go on to Lee now. Lee's come back. Thank you for coming back into the studio, Lee.
That's okay, guys. Okay, so just the last one here, super chat from Alex Tang. Thank you very much for that. Western media keep reporting that in China, the Christian churches does not allow the cross to be displayed on the rooftop. True or false? I don't know the complete answer to that. The churches I've seen around China don't tend to have a cross on the roof. They will have one above the doors, and I've seen that, so it seems they haven't banned that. Okay, moving on to what we've got coming up. So on Monday, we're releasing a video which we hope is going to be a good one. We went to a factory that manufactures KN95 masks, me and Ollie. So we made that video, and there's a really funny bit in that video. So be sure to check that one out when we release it. I won't tell you anymore, but there is quite a funny part in that. Further than that, we are then going up to Shanghai to do the opening of the new Huawei flagship store. I'm a pretty big fan of Huawei kit, and we're going to do, and we will probably do a live stream from that opening. I believe it's June the 24th, but I'll clarify that nearer the date. And then directly after that, we're going from Shanghai up to Chongqing. And Alex has been involved in organising this for us, and it sounds at the moment like we're going to have just the craziest time there. There is so much lined up for us, and I'm so looking forward to it because I've never been to Chongqing, and I've been watching Alex's videos on his channel, and it just looks the most insane city I've ever seen, man. So I'm really excited about that one. Back to you.
Thank you, Lee, and it'll be even crazier when Gweilo and I go to it. So get ready for that. I'm going. It's never going to be the same. Blondie in China, Amy, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today and for all the hard work that you do in hosting this. I'm happy I could contribute where I can. Yeah, I don't have any hugely strong opinions on religion either way. When I find it an interesting topic to discuss, and I really found it interesting listening to you guys and your opinions today. I learned a lot from it, and yeah, I'm super jealous that you and Ollie, Lee and Ollie, are going to be going to Chongqing, one of my favorite cities in China. Yeah, very jealous about that, and yeah, hopefully I can go back to China soon-ish, maybe before the end of this year. But for now, I'm here in Sydney and just making some content here. Next week, I've got a really fun video that I made with another content creator in Sydney who does content about Thailand, Thai Talk with Patty, and we exchanged some Thai and Chinese snacks. So if you're up for some entertaining content, that video might be for you. But yeah, that's me at the moment. Thanks for having me on the stream today, and to everyone who joined.
Great, Amy. You had a really nice video out a couple of days ago, saying of the things that you miss about China, and I really hope and pray for you that you will get back to China very soon, and and get back to your endeavors that you so love doing. And China misses you as well. For me, everybody, I have more videos coming out on Chongqing. And, the Barretts are going to be heading down there, and then following up once they let this guy back into China. Look out. It's going to be Mr. 50 and Mr. 60 on the road. Gweilo 60 and Alex 50, I guess you can call me. We're going to take that city on by storm, and we're not telling the Barretts everything about Chongqing. Are we, Gweilo? We're not telling them everything.
He hardly knows anything about it yet.
So that's the beautiful thing. Awesome camaraderie on this panel today. And hey, guys, we don't script these shows. We're not sitting in front of amazing teleprompters. We kind of go along as as the show goes along, and I try to keep everybody, you might see that I'm cutting people off. That's because I'm trying to keep this show from people talking over each other, if you see on CNN and all these other networks. So the good thing today is we had a nice healthy discussion. Hopefully we showed some people what China is all about in regards to religion. Please share with us in your comment box. Do not forget to subscribe to everybody below. Snarky Guy, Blondie in China, the Barretts, definitely Gweilo 60. And of course, I'm still called Reporterfy Media until maybe Kurt tells me to rename my channel. But anyway, from all of us to you, thank you very much. Have yourself a great weekend. Good night and good afternoon and good morning for wherever you are. Wesley, can you take us out?